Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Ever since the trailer for CDPR's Witcher 4 came out, there's been a whole lot of discussion, articles, assumptions, conclusions, and evaluations of what is going to be in the game and what's not going to be in the game. And, well, people have a lot to say. And a recent article from that Park Place, I saw the title, and, of course, immediate knee-jerk reaction was just, I'm about to drink the Kool-Aid and give up on the whole thing, thinking that maybe even I'm defending CDPR for their nonsense. But I read the article, I read the quote, and I'd like y'all to come with me on this little journey of interpretation and how maybe, just maybe, this one time, maybe that Park Place was a little misleading with their article title. I'm going to let you be the judge, but let's go on this little journey. CDPR claims The Witcher 4 will tackle a woman's struggle in the medieval world. Well, not necessarily misleading, but a little bit so, I think, once we read the quote. Because we're talking about the world of The Witcher, where there is prejudice and disdain. It's based on Renaissance and medieval times where women weren't really treated all that well, and we already know that. Now we have Ciri being the main protagonist as a Witcher, as a woman in this world. So, minute and a half? I don't think I can say that. Double screwed over in this setting. And I think, depending on how well it's done and how well the story is explained on how the hell she becomes a Witcher, we all know that discussion, she's got everything going against her as a character. Again, I'm not defending CDPR as far as their inner office politics. I couldn't give a rat's ass about it. I just want a fun game. I want a fun game with an interesting story. Put whatever politics you want in there, put whatever messaging you want in there. As long as it's fun first. You're welcome, Steve. Make it fun first. Fuckers. Let's keep going. Witcher 4 directors claim that using Ciri as their main protagonist will allow the team to explore the specific struggle of a female monster hunter in a medieval world. Now, that's possible, and again, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing if, and only if, it's written in a compelling manner. Ever since CD Projekt Red announced that Ciri would star in The Witcher 4, there have been questions and concerns, that's putting it mildly. Some corners of the web erupted in outrage at yet another female protagonist, again, to replace the beloved male hero. I think it's mainly replacing the beloved male hero, not necessarily the male hero. I don't think that is an overly simplified statement of the problem that people have. People, gamers, love Geralt of Rivia. They love Geralt. They want to play more as Geralt. They want to see more of his story, even though we know that The Witcher 3 and The Wild Hunt and everything ended his story. We knew that long years ago. They have a problem with Geralt being replaced by anyone with the Witcher title in the franchise. If you were to put any other male Witcher in there and still called it The Witcher, I think you'd have a good bit of, maybe not, probably less backlash, but there still would have been backlash. You added Ciri to it, while Ciri, I believe, is a beloved character, a little bit overpowered from what I understand. I'm sorry, I only got as far as the Bloody Baron in The Witcher 3. I just got bored. Please forgive me. Roast me in the comments if you must. But having Ciri in there, not calling her a Witcher, I don't think people would have had a problem with it. The main issue is based on the lore, based on the book series, and the established storyline. Female becoming a Witcher at such a late age is where people have the problem. Making the blanket generalized statement of female protagonist replacing a beloved male hero, you need to be a little bit more specific, much like people claiming that everyone was racist because they had a problem with a black mermaid. It's like, no, people had a problem with Ariel in The Little Mermaid being replaced as a character, being race changed. That was the problem. Not specifically about black mermaids, but I digress. Others are asking thoughtful questions about lore. That's the hill to die on right there. Discuss the lore. And whether Ciri's abilities and background even fit the concept of being a Witcher at all. Can't wait to see what they do with it, that's if they can survive that long. But what's catching the most attention is how the developers at CD Projekt Red have seemingly confirmed they plan to use Ciri's storyline to explore sexism and gender politics. That might be a reach. After I read the quote, you be the judge for yourself. My number one problem, I read this before I started this video, which is not something I normally do, but I just had to. I didn't want to blow off half-cocked. Eurogamer, scum of the goddamn earth, as far as leading questions towards CDPR. You'll see what I mean momentarily. Let's see. Let's not skip that. Speaking to Eurogamer, game director Sebastian Kalemba and narrative director Philip Weber laid out how, from the start, they saw Ciri as more than a mere side character. Nothing wrong with that. Want to continue her story, expand with her as a character. Again, at its core, there's generally nothing wrong with that. It's all about how you handle it. Don't be preachy. They pointed out that while Geralt was already set in his ways, Ciri, at the outset? You think maybe I could use both those words? I'm reading the article. The Witcher 4 is, quote, at the beginning of her journey as a Witcher? Really? Then why does she look so beat up? That was one of the defenses I had of this version of Ciri, is that she looked older, she looked more beaten up. Perhaps the trial that allowed her to become a Witcher had an effect on her well-being, physical appearance, her health, which caused her to look a little bit more ragged than she did in Witcher 3. But now you want to sit there and say she's at the beginning of her journey as a Witcher. I guess it could still be the trial that put her through the ringer, and this is the result of that. But again, sometimes I do hate the wait and see concept, but I got to do what I got to do. Here's the quote. In a way, even though Ciri is, of course, a defined character, with her, players will have the opportunity to still define her quite a bit more. Okay? Weber said, specifically define the path that she will take on her way to becoming a Witcher, and basically also what kind of person that will make her. So, as a player, you have control over what Ciri will become. Thank you for putting RPG elements in there, instead of a set path, a linear path on rails on what the character will become. Please follow through with that. Here's where the fun part starts. The conversation with Eurogamer then turned specifically to questions that centered around the idea of sexism in the world of The Witcher. Well, it's a Renaissance era, medieval fantasy. Is there sexism? Yeah. They sacrificed women to dragons in the fantasy realm. That's what they did. So, duh, welcome. So, the outlet asks, the experience of a woman is actively quite a significant theme in The Witcher. Why? Why is that? No, it's actually Geralt going around trying to save the day and kill monsters. In a lot of different forms, the women of this world are subjected to a lot of violence, as are the men. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Geralt gets the shit beat out of him. They're heavily sexualized. Hello, Geralt in the tub, naked. But now we're not worried about that. Sexualized in different ways. There's a kind. Do you see what I mean about the directing, the steering, the leading questions that this outlet is doing? There's the kind of deal with the devil that the sorcerers have to make. Yeah, where they lose their fertility and so long. Well, yes, when you want to gain power from the bad guys, you must give up your purity. That's called a fantasy trope. Do you understand what storytelling is, Eurogamer? Of course not. Wouldn't expect you to. Watching the trailer, it seemed to maybe channel this. There's Ciri, a woman trying and failing to save another woman. Yeah, well, again, fantasy trope. From more of this universe's violence, right? Kind of like the same thing that Geralt did in the trailer for The Witcher 3, whatever. Let's see. Is that an intentional theme that you were channeling with the trailer? And also, is it something they're intentionally looking to explore in the game? I think they're looking for a specific answer here. The experience of a woman in particular through Ciri's eyes in this world? Can you have a more leading question? Why not just ask him, hi, what is your goal with having Ciri as the Witcher in this game? Just, hey, basic question. But instead, we're going to try and direct CDPR to answer the question in the form of, how is Ciri going to behave in this game, being a woman and being... I don't even know what to say. Ciri, being a woman in this world, as a Witcher, is, again, what I wanted to say earlier in the video, is double fucked by the I guess, ideas, the concepts, the hierarchy in this universe that's created in the books. And I do have a question. I had a question. I already forgot it. So Weber replies. Now, here's the reply that I guess that Park Place is jumping to conclusions on how it's been answered based on the question. I think it's more based on the question from Eurogamer than how Weber answered it. He says, I mean, I would say the world of The Witcher is a really dark one that's really inspired by, of course, dark fantasy folklore. Again, fantasy tropes, but also medieval to early Renaissance history. And that is a world that was tough. Tough for many different groups, women among them. Okay, so that statement talks about numerous groups, that it was difficult in that era of history and in that fantasy writing. As an example, in The Witcher, we also deal with a lot of racism when it comes to non-humans. Again, hatred towards the Witchers. And this is something that we want to keep up with The Witcher 4. I don't see a problem here yet. I think it's something that has always been really important. We make games for adults. Yay, please, keep doing that. Stop censoring your games, but anyway. And it also means that we tackle some different topics. If you put them in your game in an interesting manner, then I don't see the problem. We tackle them in interesting ways, entertaining ways. Tackle them in entertaining ways, in ways that make sense in the world that you have created and presented to the player. We tackle them without giving easy answers. Oh, you mean letting the player decide? I like that. But often opening difficult questions that players have to answer on their own, giving players the choice, almost like they're doing a much better job than the Fail Guard did. And I think some of those questions might be going in this direction as well, because yes, Ciri is a woman. And as a Witcher in this world, this is an unusual state. Well, again, we all know this. Women, Witcher, double fucked. So I don't think it's going to be this story everywhere. But since this is part of this world, and we want to tackle so many of those different themes, it's definitely also going to appear there as well. So, based on that statement, I don't really, personally, see it as CDPR wanting to push any sort of feminist agenda, although one could definitely come to that conclusion if you if you pay attention to the red flags and what's going on at the studio, then definitely something to keep an eye on. Does this mean that instead of simply showing how Ciri grows into her monster slaying role, CD Projekt Red feels it's important to weave in a story about gender politics? Well, I think if it's something that's happening in the world, that, again, it's shown in previous Witcher games, right? The ladies in that universe are given up for sacrifice. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below. I almost said chat again. Do most gamers really want it in their dark fantasy? Well, that is ultimately up to the gamers to decide, and it will depend on how it is presented in the game. We're presented with what could be considered political decisions, political stories, religious stories, ideological stories since the dawn of video games almost, at least after the Atari 2600, when you could get more complex stories in your video games. We've been presented with these choices, and what makes the games more fun is when you're presented with choices that actually affect the endings of the game or the progression of the game. Having a story like this that makes sense, again, that is the key to all of this. It has to make sense. It's what I talk about constantly. Do whatever you want in your video game. Make it fun. Make your message make sense in your game. Final Fantasy VII is a corpo-political video game with a corpo-political message, but it makes sense in the world that it is presented. Cyberpunk 2077. Numerous games across numerous platforms throughout decades of video games have done this and done this well. My understanding, ReFantazio did it as well. Massively political game with political choices, themes, all around, but it made sense in the game. And this is going to be the uphill battle that CDPR is going to have to climb, because right now they don't really have a very good reputation. Sure, I absolutely love Cyberpunk 2077 and the Phantom Liberty DLC, my all-time favorite RPG. It was a dumpster fire in the beginning, no question about it. and everything that's going on, the ESG, the DEI, all the nonsense going on inside the studio. Will that have an effect on the game? Will that have an effect on the story? Some say vehemently yes, 100%, and will not put any money down to the studio. Some, like myself, have a wait and see, and I will wait and see. How are they going to handle it? Is their little story, Ciri, being a witcher? Because the first thing they have to do is make it make sense that Ciri becomes a witcher. After that, tackling the issues, the bigotry in the Witcher universe. If it makes sense, it will resonate with the players. If the story is interesting, it will resonate with the players, and they will scream from the rafters. Word of mouth can help this game. Word of mouth can destroy this game. But I don't think it's going to be such a terrible idea to have Ciri as a Witcher dealing with so-called women's struggles in the Witcher medieval world. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you think. Again, numerous red flags with CDPR, with The Witcher 4. Definitely going to be paying attention. You make your decision yourself. Vote with your wallet. Let your voice be heard. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things us YouTubers beg you to do. And I do hope to see you on the next one.